Look at us being here. It's Colton and I, and we're going to do 3D stuff today is what we're going to do. So Colton was talking about how he can't get Painter to share. And I was telling him I used to have that same problem with sharing my browser because like it wouldn't share the browser either. And it is a hardware acceleration problem in OBS. So I'm just saying that so I can catch you up to what Colton and I are talking about. Because we're talking about something over here. And I'm actually going to go over here and figure out where I found it. Because I fixed it. I'm actually going to look it up because I remember looking it up. OBS shows black.
You can see it on my camera.
Screen. Yep.
I made a sync.
Yep, you got to go open settings and search for graphics settings.
Where you're talking about settings within that scene or that source? Or full
no, I
setting?
think this is OBS in general. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, because it's depending on what your Windows version and what sources you wish to use, you may need to set OBS to run on a specific GPU.
Okay, so settings, and you said video.
So search for graphics settings. I'm reading through it kind of in a fast way here. Hang on.
That makes sense if you're trying to switch over because it's probably trying to run off the CPU. So if you transfer over to your GPU, it should probably do it.
Right. So looking over here, tools.
Output.
No, settings. File settings. Let's look here.
Oh, file settings.
Well, I'm checking here first because I'm trying to see because what it was saying was switch over your Windows function, which would require a Windows restart. So I'm like, let's see if we can do an OBS fix before we do a Windows restart.
Right.
So video. No output.
General.
Stream. No. General. It's got to be under general somewhere. Yeah, okay. So back to what I was looking at here. Okay, so what it says is window capture and compatibility mode. If you cannot see the GPU or wish to cross capture an image from the other GPU after that, example League of Legends, use window monitor capture with a compatibility mode enabled to force a capture.
Sorry, repeat that last little sentence.
So here, let me. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I will bring over OBS and then broadcast my OBS, which I think is funny. Oh no! So what it's saying is, when you have these captures, you've got Windows capture like this, and what you want to do is like here it's capturing. I like how it says it's capturing Netflix. It's not capturing Netflix, but that apparently was the last thing I watched. Here it says capture mode automatic.
Oh, because it says Illustrator.
You can do these different various formats. So when you're
there we go. Okay.
So there we go.
Fixed it.
Look at us. Go back to my Ring camera so I can stop having infinite me's.
That makes so much more sense now. I was like, what the heck is going on?
Yep. Yeah. Oh, hey, look at that sync.
Yeah.
And here, when I was looking over your shoulder over there, here I thought you were like working on like the barrels of a gun, and you're not. You're working on a drink.
I'm trying to. I don't have a texture.
No, it looks fine.
Yeah, I know. It's
so
it's the drain. But
yeah, I mean it looks totally fine. It's just that without context.
Yeah. Now me and my teacher were talking about this Monday of like with how much money we pay to go to school and the subscription that we get through Adobe and all that stuff through the school, they can't pay that little bit extra with our tuition to let us get textures. Even the bare minimum, like the bare minimum gets you like 60 textures a month or something like that, and which is like $10-$20. And it's like, you can't just pay that little bit extra just to get us that little, like, so we can actually like get the textures we want to play with. Like, I get it. I get that you're wanting to put limitations on everybody, but like, there's problems.
Right. That's not
Isn't that
Facebook's not working well.
Oh,
Watching via YouTube. Let's see what's going on. Oh yeah, it says that we're offline in all of Facebook.
ooh, Facebook doesn't like us. But yeah, and yeah, it was kind of those ways like, I don't understand why you guys can't have nice things.
Now we're back online. I had to force it.
What's going on?
That's so weird.
Why is my pen not working? That's weird.
Your pin?
For some reason, it's staying on my... What the... It became a tablet mode. How do I switch that? What the fuck? What did I hit?
You're like, what did I do?
Yeah, for some reason, yeah, like when I'm on my... Like, it's hovering over my actual monitor. That is so weird. Did I hit something? I don't know.
Boy, we're just suddenly like nothing's working. Facebook's not working. Your tablet's not working. And
I did something. I don't know.
I'm gonna fire up Blender.
What is going on? This is my day.
Right. Another thing too.
You know, the day that when you want to do something, get it done. It's like, no. Okay.
YouTube works.
I don't want to do this by mouse.
I like my pen. I see your pen moving. I see your cursor moving.
Oh, yeah, that's the mouse.
Oh.
I'm trying to see why it's not.
I feel like I'm not using up as much space as I should. Yeah, look at us doing double 3D here, except that you don't have mouse.
I'm trying to figure out how to word this.
Right. Is that what's your monitor?
Wacom 22
what I do in because I lose pin every so often with mine, I'll unplug the USB
to this
and then just plug it back in.
Just unplug the USB to the monitor?
Yeah, to the monitor. I actually have it marked.
That's fair. That makes sense.
Because this happens actually quite a bit.
More often than it should.
More often than it should, my pen just stops working. And I'm like, really?
Right.
Like, I need you to stop working now? What is your problem? Okay, here's me going, how can I maximize my space a little bit more? Right, because I can scale, I think, but I feel like I feel like there's a lot of empty, not used space down here.
Oh, you're messing with UVs?
Yeah.
I've been learning UVs, and some of them make sense. Some of them are like, what the fuck?
Well, the way I do my comics is...
Hey, that does fix it. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I would, if I were you, put a little flag on your USB cable.
So I know exactly what you... Oh, you're using Daz? How do you like Daz? I haven't touched it yet.
Oh, I love Daz. Daz is one of my favorites because it's free.
Oh, is Daz free?
Totally free. They make their money off of pretty costumes and different maquettes. Oh. So if you just use the basic maquettes, it's free. Absolutely free.
All right.
And since I've been using it since the days of Poser, because it's a Poser
Oh,
clone.
that was Poser?
Well, it's a clone of Poser. So Poser came out in like 98,
Uh-huh.
and I used Poser back then, but um but when Daz came out, it was free and Poser wasn't. Poser, they still charge for Poser, but Daz is free. So I just had to learn the new interface,
That's
and all
fair.
was good. So what I'm doing with my UVs is this. So this is what I call a gravity wing on my ship, and it's a tail, and I just extend all the pieces up like so,
Right.
and I can get the tail to extend, except that now that it's crooked, it needs to be readjusted to here. But that's okay, because when I make
is that so it's like it slides out?
Yeah, it slides out. So when
Okay.
my ship is looking for other ships, it extends these sails out to search, and that's because I wanted business is really what I was after.
Oh, that's cool.
So like when your ship is when I was thinking about this a lot about the comics when I was looking at Star Trek comics, and they're doing the comics for Star Trek are great, but like there's if Spock says I'm scanning for life forms and you show the Starship Enterprise, it's not like it sits there going beep, 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 with like waves coming out of it or anything. It doesn't. It has no business, right? It
That's
doesn't
true.
do anything that visually tells you that something's happening.
Uh-huh.
So I went ahead and built my ships with a lore where they do a thing every time they're actively looking for other people. Because one of the cool things about that is I could just have a picture where you see a ship with the fin all extended out, and I don't need to say anything. I don't need to have Spock say, I'm scanning for other ships now. I don't need to. You can read immediately that these ships are searching for somebody because
They're
all of
doing
their
things.
sensors are extended.
Right.
So that was my thought.
That's cool.
So anyway, we've got to fix a couple of little problems with it, but that's what I'm doing is UV mapping, because right now, when I render this, it looks hand drawn.
Oh, that's covering that up? That's not what I wanted, though.
Now you're all like caught up on that. Are you painting your textures yourself? Because
Well, no. So, kind of. So this one is I just threw a dirt texture on everything. So I want to add that like a little bit more grunge to it.
Yeah.
Make it look like it's a sink that like it's being used, but like it's not abandoned.
Right.
So I just did that, and then I'm just going in and just like pretty much I did a mask, and I'm just erasing or pretty much just putting a white layer over it just so it starts covering it.
Okay.
So it more looks worn out instead of actually just super grimy like this.
Right.
Where'd it go?
You could put
like
toothpaste on it. That's what we've got all over our sinks is toothpaste.
Right.
When you have an 11-year-old, you end up with toothpaste everywhere. You're like,
That
how
doesn't
in the world did
surprise
I
me.
end up with toothpaste in like, my bed? I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Well, when you're brushing your teeth at night. Apparently
He
he thought that you didn't believe him, that
Right.
he wasn't brushing his teeth. So he's like, oh, here, Dad, here's my toothpaste.
Exactly. He comes crawling into bed and he doesn't wipe his mouth, and then he lays down next to us, and it's like, oh, that's so cute. And then you realize he just wiped his mouth on your pillow.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's nice.
It's not as cute as I thought it was.
Yeah. We just went back offline again on Facebook. What's going on?
Facebook's having troubles today.
Yeah. Actually,
I know the name No Be Real.
on YouTube. I don't know
which one's Nobi?
I don't even know if you can hear us anymore. That's Minty. Oh, okay. So Paul's coming in from Facebook. That's good.
Okay.
No, Nobi is Brent.
It is Brent. Okay,
Yeah, it's
I
Brent.
thought
It's
so. I was
Brent's
like,
Twitch account.
is it Brent? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Brent's Twitch account. He'll
Nice.
pop in on Twitch if he can't find us.
Yeah, well, that's where like I remembered seeing the name. I'm like, I know this person. We've talked to this person.
He's Brent.
He's
Hey,
Brent.
Paul, it's good to have you on the show today. We're working 3D. Looks like what we're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
And discussing minty fresh breath with kids
In the bedroom.
in the bedroom, trying to make your life miserable because that's what kids do. It's their job.
Can I not do it there? Or do I have to
It's their job.
do the mask?
Wonder if I maybe can push. Maybe
place that part.
I think what I need to do is rotate this like this. Maybe. We'll see.
Are you texturing it or no?
I will be at some point. So this is the UV map for the wings.
Yeah.
Wings of the ship, and the control surfaces here and here. And I feel like I've got a lot of dead space, and so I'm like, there's got to be a better way to organize.
I wouldn't put it diagonal because you would get weird stretching in your textures.
Oh yeah, well no, the textures are all square, so I'm not worried about that. I'm just trying to come up with a. So this is the right wing, and this is the left wing, and then this is the stabilizer, this back fin right here.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to. I don't want to. I mean, I could probably just reorganize stuff and make it more square, but still, it's like.
I mean, you could. You might be able to bring in those long pieces right there.
These guys?
Yeah, you could probably bring those inwards more.
Yeah, this is the edge, the back edge of the wing. You're right.
I would just take that and I would slide them over more. Because you could probably have them more like that right directly.
Like
right there.
Yeah, you're right.
Which would give you a little bit more space all the way in.
I agree.
On their sides, which you can expand from there.
Yeah. And then that gives us a little bit. These are engine pylons here, so we probably can move them.
You could probably move those up.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking too.
Like just move them up a little bit.
Get them out of the way.
Yeah, there we go. Like down. I bring it down a little bit more. Like keep them close, but yeah.
And that might be able to get me a little bit more space with this wing.
Yeah, because you select all of it now. You could probably expand it from there.
Yeah, because we can get this a little tighter.
You're just going to have a really tight UV.
It's totally fine.
I know.
This won't render onto the... But like this is the inside edge too. And we could probably move these guys down and scale them. Because they don't need to be this big.
I don't know if Davs does the same thing like in Maya and all that, where it does the checkerboard.
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't. I build the checkerboard.
To see if they actually are, if you're going to have stretching or mix.
Yeah, I just get adjusted to it. If it stretches, I just adjust the map properly. Because Blender, the way that I'm doing this with Blender, the easiest way for me to do this with Blender is to just to use a function in here which projects the map.
Doesn't Blender have its own unwrapping?
It does, but it's a pain in the ass and I don't like it.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't know. With me just knowing Maya right now, like, and so many people are like, "Why are you using that program? Just switch to Blender," because Blender has so much different stuff in it. Which is crazy.
The thing about Blender, Blender is really cool. Here's the reason why I use Blender. It's free.
I mean, yeah, I get that part too, and that's actually the one reason why everybody else does too. But it is one of those ones.
But it's also open source, so that means that everybody and their uncle decides that they want to make a change that works really well for them, and then we're stuck with it,
Yeah.
And so it has some weird illogics that I still don't quite grasp.
Mhm.
Like I don't understand why it opts to why they do things in a way like they used to be able to um, do bit mapping with a cube unwrap,
Mhm.
which works perfectly for most of my stuff because really it's a wing. I want the top, I want the bottom, I want the back edge, and I want the sides. A cube
Right.
unwrap would be perfect, right? But then they decided to go with this seam unwrap version now where it's like you print you mark a seam around the outside of the object.
Ooh, what's this do? That's cool. Sorry.
You mark a seam around the outside of the object, and then that allows you to, or that tells Blender where the seam is, you know.
Yeah. You create the seam. Yeah.
Yeah, but it requires you to totally, there we go, I've got a
That
lot
looks
more
like,
space.
yeah,
Look
you
at that.
maximize that space better now.
Yeah, I can use that a whole lot better now. And then I can put the fins down here because they don't really need that much. I'll actually move these guys over.
Oh, I didn't know that's what those were.
Yeah, they're just
yeah, because you could easily just like move those down in the corner.
Yeah, that's what
Or just in that bottom layer.
So I'm going to do
Just like
stick
that.
them right over here, and then they'll be happy as clams out in the corner. Yeah, these are just the this is the vertical stabilizers.
The little tiny pieces.
Yeah, they're the fins that sit right here. And I'll just move them in, and it won't be a problem. Move this guy to right here. This is the other vertical stabilizer. Or I guess they're horizontal stabilizers, not vertical. I've done the vertical stabilizers. They're already in DAZ. The wings are next.
I didn't know DAZ was free.
Mm-hmm. DAZ is totally free. They make their money off of people who like to do really elaborate renders using their maquettes. So
yeah. Oh, they were talking. My teacher's telling me, it's like a lot of people use these programs that we're teaching you in the industry. DAZ is when you start getting into like hyper realistic.
Yeah.
Because apparently you're able to like literally make something super hyper realistic in DAZ.
Yeah.
It's like you can do it in Substance. It just takes a lot longer. But like a lot of people go to DAZ because they can just do it like real quick.
Oh yeah, and the ability to pose in DAZ is great. That's probably what I spend the most money on in DAZ is buying pose sets. Yes, you don't cost the thing it brings. You are totally free.
Totally. Dobby's a free elf.
Yeah, I don't know what that means exactly. But you know, it's all right. Actually, I think now that I've done this, I could probably put you down here and extend you.
Now you're wanting to work. That's weird.
That's probably better. I do know that thinking about how I'm going to use these in my comic, odds will be good that we will have a blown up version of my ship where I will be pulling the wings off of it and having the wings floating free. So being able to actually look at the inside of the wing is probably useful. So having this panel here will be good because I'll be able to put all the widgets and whatever and pieces, parts, and things like that, so that you can if the wing is floating free and you see the inside of the wing, you see wires and hoses and whatever.
Oh, is that too much?
All right. So now we will do Kundi's special effect.
Are you using DAZ?
Me?
No, Kundi.
No. Kundi was talking about
using ZBrush.
Yeah, Kundi's ZBrush. That's Kundi taught me the Windows Shift S command.
Oh, for screenshots?
Yeah, for screenshots.
You
So
know
I
that
don't
you
have
can
to
just do the
screen shoot
snippet tool
whole
too,
thing,
right?
right?
You know about the snippet tool?
Yeah, the snippet tool, and that's what I'm using right now.
Oh, okay.
So that way, so what I just did was I just captured just this part and
Mhm.
imported it into Clip Studio Paint.
Yeah.
And so
What?
now I have better wings.
To fly on.
But I mean, it's easier for me to just hang on. Wings. So we will now do the wings. Turn on that. Drop the opacity. And you are gravity sensor. We'll do a new layer.
Yeah, it just looks like this. All right. I think this bad boy.
So, all righty.
Oh, shift.
Now I have my pen tool, and we're gonna.
Oh, it's right. Okay, that's why. Cool, looks porcelain and shiny. Good. Okay, yeah, that's a little too much. So how's life, guy? Haven't talked to you and like feels like
Right? In a coon's
forever.
age. It's been a while. It's still going well. I mean, we've sort of I mean, I'm starting to see a lot of us getting back into the convention circuits. And that's good.
Yeah. I'm still holding off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got school and that's
Like school, I also like I don't know, after not doing it and feeling like I have to do it, if that makes sense, like
yeah.
with how much I was doing it now, like I'm kind of I think I just burnt myself out.
Yeah.
And
I
now that
feel
I'm
that
not doing it anymore, like I just feel relief.
there's nothing wrong with that.
And I'm just kind of like I'm just going to do this. I like this. Just
Yeah.
figuring out what I'm doing, not trying to like think of something new like every month to try
Right.
and like pull numbers and like do the marketing thing. And if I can't do this, like, is this going to be my last show every time I think about it kind of concept?
Oh yeah. See, that's just stressful.
Yeah, it just got stressful after a while, but that was also
I
like
don't blame you on
everything I
that.
was doing though, like it makes sense that the
Yeah,
stress kicked in.
I don't blame you, man. I don't
But
blame
like
you
for
at
me
all.
specifically, and like now, like I'm just enjoying doing the school thing, trying to build a portfolio so I can just keep sending them out and just getting rejection letters.
Yep, like all the rest of us. That's
Like I
such an
applied
important
to,
part of
I
being.
actually got a reply from one of them. That's surprising.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I was like, wait. I was just looking in my emails at like midnight and going, all right, what do I hell I have in here? And then I was like, oh wait, they actually replied. Holy shit!
Holy cow! Oh
Because everywhere
my!
else I usually like, I think I've applied to like at least 6 places within like this year or whatnot. I think only 2 now have ever replied back, and one was a very smaller company here in Colorado. So I was like, oh, like that one. I was like, all right, cool. HR department or whoever sends out, whoever the hiring person is, whatever, actually sent out an email. Okay, you guys are small. It makes sense. But
Yeah,
like the bigger companies, I was like, I was never expecting to hear from them. And then like one of them actually came back, like, we like what we see, but it's just not exactly what we're looking for yet. I'm like, I'm okay with that answer right now. I was
yeah.
actually just surprised you said something. I just threw it in there because I thought it'd be cool. And like, yeah.
You got nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah,
I was just more impressed that they actually replied. I was like, shit, okay.
right.
Like,
I like-
because you get those, like a lot of people within those industries. Like, I know so many teachers that I've talked to. They're like, I have a binder at home of all my rejection letters.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, no. After I got out of college, I just started applying everywhere, building my portfolio, doing exactly what all these people, like what you guys are going to be doing when that comes. He was in animation when he started. And he's like, I have a binder. I printed off all my rejection letters and just put them all in a binder just so I have them. And I can always look back at them and like, this is where I was. This is
Yeah.
where I am now. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. And
And
then I thought about
that's
it. I was like, how many rejections I've gone through just verbally or anything. If I did that, I'd be like, oh my God, that'd be a thick binder.
yeah. I scan all my rejections in.
Yeah. Like, I get it.
What's
I
really
think it's kind of
irritating to
cool.
me is that I keep getting reached out to from people. They're reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, do you do X, Y, or Z?" And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, sure, I do that." And then they're like, "Cool. How much do you charge?" And I tell them, this much, and then they ghost me.
That's literally been my whole year with commissions.
It's like that's
Every
really
commission I've ever
aggravating.
like got offered, except for one. One, it's just we're having a timing issue. That's it. But
Yeah.
like everybody else, it like comes to me. Someone sends people to me to like, hey, this person wants some work done. I think you'd be great for the job. I'm like, sweet, send them my way. We start talking. As soon as I slap on a price tag, I never hear from them again.
Yeah, they ghost me. It's really
Which is
I mean, I
I'm
feel
like,
like that's rude, you
it
know?
is rude. Like at least say like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm just not
Yeah, you
like,
can even say that's too rich, and I'll say, okay, cool, that's no problem.
yeah, just say something.
Say something. Because like I'm still waiting for like 3 commissions. They're
Yeah.
just it never,
Like the
never
only
lands.
one commission I'm still waiting on right now is just we're having a timing issue. They wanted a portrait, and I was like, cool, let's meet in person. I can do like a quick base. We can just hang out. I'll do a quick base and all that stuff, and then I can go in later on and just detail it throughout the week. And they're like, oh yeah, that'd be perfect. And then the only timing issue we're having is getting us in the same room.
Right?
Or if we're in the same room, it's not like there's like 10 other people. And we're like, yeah, this isn't really the right place to be doing this when we're with a whole bunch of friends, just stopping everything,
Yeah. Sorry,
But I
guys.
was like,
We
we
gotta
could
go do
do
something
that. She's
else.
like, I'm not really comfortable with that one. I'm like, that's fair. I was like, we could sit there and be like, oh, cool. We're all going to hang out with everybody. I'm just going to sit here and draw you. And we're going to have a conversation and just hang out and just watch everybody go, what the heck's going on?
That might be a little uncomfortable. I could see that.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. She's just like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, all right, cool. That's fine. If you say so.
Dune was awesome, he says. Oh, good.
Oh, still want to see it. It looked good.
I'm going out with my buddies to see it.
Nice.
So we've already like set up we're going to go to the theater and we're gonna all watch it together. We got childcare set up because we're not sure whether it's safe for the kids, yada yada yada.
Watch it first before you let the kids come through.
Always do, yeah. That's important.
That's smart. I like that.
So,
Like when I was younger, I hated it, but like as I got older, I totally understood why it became a thing. Because I've seen a lot of movies. I'm like, I would never, like, if I had kids, I would never let them watch this.
Well, yeah, and you look back and you're like, oh, great, I saw Poltergeist at like 10, and it traumatized the hell out of me. And
yeah,
it's like, why make my child suffer like that?
As I have suffered.
Yeah, I mean, like, gave me a nice happy fear of clowns and an odd fear of trees. Thank you, Poltergeist.
Odd fear of trees.
Have you ever seen Poltergeist?
I think I saw a bit of it, and I just never finished it because I was not like.
It's a
I
Spielberg
love the
film,
concept of
and
horror.
that's one of the reasons why I watched it.
I never liked horror, but I love the concept of horror. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it totally does. I don't like
because
jump
there's so
scared.
many like a lot of my friends are like Crozier and all of them. Like they're all into these huge horror everything, and I'm just like, I really love everything you guys do and all that stuff, but like, it's not my thing.
Yeah, he keeps trying to get me to go to the Colorado Festival of Horror, and I'm like, it's not that I have any problem with
horror.
that. I'm just not a horror person, and so
Right.
it's like I appreciate it,
Yeah.
but I'm not doing it.
I'm in the same boat. Like I love the whole concepts. I love everything that they do with it. But as you said though, I'm in the same boat of just like it's not my everyday thing.
Yeah, it's not our cup of tea. So, oh, good. It's safe. Not a lot of gore or blood. That's good.
No, that's good. Can I be one of those super protective parents? It's not about blood and gore. Is there sex scenes in it?
Oddly,
Sex is where I draw the line.
that is
Especially when it
totally
becomes something
not what's going on in our household. I
I
would rather my kid saw 1,000 sex scenes before a violent scene,
right?
blood and gore.
There's some scenes where I've seen. I'm just like, you're okay with this? Like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like,
Right.
this person just literally got ripped like limb from limb, and that is pretty accurate on how the body actually rips apart.
Right.
I'm really surprised you're okay with this.
And that's something that like really does bother me. It's like, now my kid actually is somewhat desensitized to it already, and it's like that's not cool.
Right?
He has his biggest problem is social situations. He gets very uncomfortable in social situations, which is funny.
Really?
Yeah, he can't stand sitcoms.
He can't
Because-
stand sitcoms?
Right?
That's
You're
awesome.
like, okay, that's weird. But yeah, his biggest problem is sitcoms because like you and I will come into the room and I was going to ask you to do a job and your best friend has asked you to go to the movies. And so I asked you to do the job and you say, okay, even though you know that you've got to go to the movies tonight with your best friend. Those situations freak him out because
That's
he's
crazy.
like, they should just talk to each other.
Right.
And he gets completely freaked out and he leaves the room. He can't stand it. It's so weird. And it's weird what every human comes up with. It's like a different thing. Every human has something else.
Right.
Like he just can't stand sitcoms at all. That drives him crazy. A little 11-year-old, and he's like, I'm leaving. Like what we were watching the other day. We were watching something like Marvel's What If or something like that. And
I still have never seen that.
It's really good. It's
Is
really
it?
good. But I mean, it was one of those, Agent Carter needed to have told Captain America something, and Captain America didn't understand it or whatever. But it was like the classic Agent Carter, Captain America love tension thing. Just normal, just the normal pressure. It's always been there between those two characters. And he's like, I'm out. I'm like, okay. So like Hulk exploding didn't bother you, but Captain Carter and Captain America not talking to each other bothers you.
Not talking to each other. That's funny.
Well, I mean,
no,
like,
they're supposed to be in
like
love.
The classic, they're mad at each other because she thinks
I know.
he said something and he thinks she said something or whatever,
Just something
I don't
stupid.
even remember the scene. It was so insignificant.
That's
I don't
awesome.
even remember the scene, but he was just done. He was done. He was out.
That's hilarious.
So funny.
I love it.
And it's it's the same thing. It's like as soon as a show becomes super tension, like they're gonna have a jump scare, I'm out. Like I actually don't. I actually like jump scares. I guess more. I guess is not the right word. If it's just a sudden jump scare, they're terrifying. I hate them. I hate jump scares generally.
Same.
But when it's the and that music's going and there's a jump scare somewhere around here, those are even worse. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave, and whenever whatever it is going to comes jumping out, just tell me and I'll come back.
I'll be back.
Because I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't even deal with this.
Yeah, mine is like Halloween's like going to like haunted houses and that. Like they're
Mhm.
fun, but like I'm the one looking for people. Like I'm doing the exact opposite. Like I'm hunting them kind of concept. Like I find them before they jump out. I see them like, "Hey bud, what's up?" And they're just like, you could see them like, "Really?"
Well,
Because
yeah,
they're getting all ready. They're like, "Oh, we're finally gonna do this." And then like they notice that there's someone that actually sees them before they do, and they're like, "What the fuck?"
right.
Or like when they do jump out at you, like you don't react, and then like I feel bad.
Right.
Like I don't
I
react
agree.
half the time with them. It's like, that was a good one. Nice. I was like, 2 people down, it's a lot better off. And then they just kind of glare at me, and I'm like, I just gave you the best. Like you're gonna have a better time with them. Believe me. I'm
Yeah.
just here to see the like the makeup, the models, all that stuff.
Okay, real quickly, let's think of a letter.
Oh,
in
this
the-
is like you're about to sneeze.
No, I'm thinking of a letter. No, I actually, yeah, stupid. I don't know what it is about transition between fall and
Summer.
or like summer to winter and then
Yeah.
winter to summer. I get like all these sinus headaches and stupid sinus problems for like 2
Yeah,
weeks. And
my
it's
my
over.
allergies flare up every time
It
we have a
is,
seasonal change.
but I'm like, what? Why you're not pollinating anything out there? Why am I getting? Anyway, okay. Let's think
I
of a
wish I
letter
would.
that is obvious when it's reversed.
H.
Yeah, you're fine. Because like I'm actually thinking about this. I'm like, A looks the same flipped this way. B looks the
Kinda.
same flipped this way.
Yeah.
C would look the same flipped this way. D, E,
R.
F might work.
Capital
R
R.
might work. Yeah, R would work. Let's put R on there. And I'm putting R on here. That way I can tell whether the map flipped upside down or not.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Why are
I
you
get what you're
putting
talking
R's
about
on
now.
things?
I get exactly what you're talking about now. Got it.
Yeah, that way I can tell whether the normals have been flipped upside down.
Okay. I was wondering, I was like, what kind of experiment are we doing here? Hold on.
R is a good one. I like R. Because R will look wrong if it's not correct.
Yep.
All right.
You're building a Team Rocket spaceship.
I am. Save as. That's awesome.
Oh.
Kitty Wake, and these are
Let
wings.
me put more shit on the shelf.
Go over into here, and we'll make sure that you, as an object mode, settle you. We will export as a wavefront object. And you're in the wrong place. Doesn't surprise me, I guess. Up. Bellatrix Rising 3D resources, Kitty Wake pieces. This is port wing. Perfect. Boom. And then we will export you as port stabilizer. I'm glad to have you here as sort of, helping me out here.
Yeah. If I wasn't working so much, I'd be on more often.
Let's call it port flap, because otherwise I'll never remember what the heck it is. What did I call it again?
That's the, like, my friend just went through a scenario where not she finally, but like the realization of how short-staffed certain industries really are right now.
Yep.
And like they posted about it. So this is why I want to say like they just learned, but I know they didn't just learn. They knew about it, but like we're actually finally in a scenario where it fully affected them.
Right.
And like I feel bad for them because it's a terrible situation.
Right.
And
I'm chuckling at Paul, who's saying that
yeah, I just saw
reversed
that.
R. You know, what's even funnier is that he managed to actually put a reversed R in the text. So that's awesome.
I did see that. I was like, that's cool.
That's actually pretty kick butt.
But
I'm not laughing at her situation.
oh yeah, no, I know. But yeah, she was like hers is within airlines, which surprisingly enough, I work for FedEx Express, which we are an airline company.
Right.
We're running through the exact same problems of we're not having pilots. We can't get it. Like we're having a pilot shortage. We're having actually everything shortage, really, of people. But like when she was talking about it, it's like I know exactly what you're going through.
Right. Let's try
You know, and that's kind of one reason. Like it was just kind of crazy finally actually seeing people posting about like I get it. I understand that we're in a shortage, but this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. It's just like everything that we're going through right now. It is ridiculous. Are you rendering right now?
No, I had to redo it. So there is this part right here. This little check mark says limit to selection only. It's by default not checked. So when you export anything, it exports everything on the frickin' stage.
What that?
So I just exported this entire model 4 times instead of just the wing, which is what I'm doing now. So now I have to re-export everything. So that's all. Are you okay? You gonna make it? I hope you survive.
I will. I forgot to float.
Yep.
There was very little juice in that vape.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it burns now. It's fine.
It burns. Okay, that now should import just fine. Import. That's export. I hit export by accident.
So there's a guy on. So I don't know if you know what TikTok is, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Have you actually watched? Like, do you actually watch them or not?
No.
No. Okay.
I mean, sometimes I do, I guess.
But
only when they show up somewhere.
I do on occasion now, just because I just turn off my brain. Like it's when Vines and all that became a thing. I just turn off my brain, just like watch stupid videos.
Right.
But there's this one guy on there now that keeps randomly popping up in my feed. And the only ones I really watch right now are the ones that pop up on like Instagram and that, because I'm like swiping through Instagram and a video starts. I'm like, oh, okay. But he's trying to explain the differences. It's funny. He's like explaining all the differences of millennials and like how there's so many different ones now, and because like millennials are becoming 30, and like he was making a joke of like one of them like sneezed and like made this face. He's like, oh, then it goes back to the like a Gen Z, or he's like, oh, did your back get thrown out from sneezing?
Right.
Just like little things like that. He's like, what's this feeling? Stuff like that. It was just funny. And there was one this morning I was watching that how did it go?
It is so determined to not do this the right way. It's helping me out, and it needs to stop.
It was explaining millennials of like you got your first gen millennials and your second gen millennials. It was like that gap between the millennials, pretty much. Like you get the early 80s, 90s, and then you have like the 2000 babies, because somehow we're all mixed together. I have no idea how this works, but you know, it is what it is.
I feel like we've got that because of the fact that it's by what generation you kind of grew up in.
Yeah. I think that's yeah. Well, on that note, though, Yeah, because I always have a lot of friends or like whatnot back in the day when we were doing conventions. Like, you know how like some people were like, "Damn it, these millennials who just don't understand like what's going on." I'm like, "Fuck you." And they're
Right.
like, "Colton, you're different." I'm like, "No, I'm not. You're just finding all the shitty people."
Well, yeah, and
But
I
really,
think
in
I think
all
a lot of
hindsight, I
that
don't think
is
it.
like what when we talk about like the generations and which one goes where or whatever, it has a lot to do with what did you do as a kid in
Yeah.
your generation. Like
How were
for
you raised?
yeah, for example, like as a Gen Xer, I spent my childhood watching
Oh, yeah,
like
you are
Knight
X, aren't you?
Rider and Airwolf and things like that. And somewhere along the line, as I became an older teen, computers started to leak into my world. And I started building my own computers, and they were all super slow.
Yeah, but
I'm
see,
the
you were
Atari
also
2600
like,
generation, right? I mean,
yeah, because I started
we,
in like technically like like late '90s, 2000s, where like
right.
you
But
were
the
dealing with
point
it
is
like
that when
as it was
you started
growing.
putting computers together, they were already sort of these computers. They
Hmm.
weren't what I put together.
Right.
The beast that I put together, you had to talk to it in DOS. You had to, there was it was like it was not
You actually had to know a little bit more.
yeah, you had to know how to program it to some degree because it just started with a C prompt.
Yeah.
You get a black screen with C colon backslash on it and a cursor blinking. And that was the
Right.
start of your computer. And then you had to figure out what to do from there. And so it's all about
Yeah.
the generation and
Yeah.
era. Like, we were the last generation to not be computerized to some degree. Gen X was.
Yeah.
And the millennials are the first generation to have had computers as a regular, not you, as a regular part of their existence. They were just omnipresent in your
Yeah.
life.
You're not wrong. I
So
mean,
I think that's really what the definition line is, and that's what
yeah.
they're talking about is which era you grew up in.
Hmm.
Um, my kid, being that he's whatever this new generation, Gen Z or the Zennials or whatever you call them, that generation's the first generation that had cell phones, literally from like kindergarten
Yeah.
involved in their world. My kid has a cell phone right now. He's 11, you know, and
I
it's
didn't have a cell phone
because
until I was like 14, 15.
right. And we
It's pretty much like
wrestled
once I
with it.
started working in the workforce, my parents were like, "Oh, finally, you can have a cell phone." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "You're gonna be out of the house more often." I'm like,
And that's what's happening is
also they
like
could afford it. Let me phrase that too. Like we
well,
kind of
yeah,
so like now I look back at everything though too, like with the generational of like the generational thing that you're talking about too, like the way you were brought up or built, not built but raised. Like I was kind of raised in more of like a poor family setting, so we weren't able to like buy a computer right off the bat.
right.
Or my parents never thought computers were going to go anywhere. So like, oh no, we're not going to spend our money on something that's never going to go anywhere. But now you look at
Who's
it,
gonna ever
even
use
my
that?
parents nowadays are like, yeah, we probably should have thrown you in a few different new courses and things that weren't what we were expecting it to be. You know, what we always thought was going to happen. Like we should have just let you do your thing, and you would have probably been more farther advanced into what you want to do now.
Sure.
Instead of me like constantly like every 4 or 5 years like jumping around from
Yeah.
like new project to new project. But that's just because I'm like, all right, cool, that didn't work. What's next? You know,
The wings look like they're at least reading correctly.
they look like wings.
Yep. And they say R the correct direction. The problem I've got is I've got these artifacts going now.
Teacher used to say that you won't talk. You won't.
Yep.
Oh, you won't walk around with a calculator. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean that's another one of
Now
those
you have
funny
a
things.
whole freaking computer in your pocket.
Well, and that's the other thing that's like a Gen X sort of existence was we were taught we had to learn to math the hard way because we're not going to have a room full of computers to calculate your
Yeah.
taxes for you.
Like I literally still think that we should be that way as well. Like taxes and that, no, but like at least knowing how to do basic math in your head
Mhm.
and doing things like the basic stuff where you don't need a calculator, should be still taught that way. But the reason
Sure.
why I always say that too is because computers are computers.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking back to like the storylines and all that stuff of you always see people write of like EMP goes off on the whole world, everything shuts down.
Right.
Electrical. Guess what? How are you going to do things now? Like you need math, you need to be able to use your brain at some point too. But like at the same time, like computers are just supposed to make our lives easier. They're not supposed to just do our lives.
Right.
And that's the part I think that's we don't teach.
Yeah, I actually have no problem with that. The problem that I mean, really, because my assessment here on this one is sure, I could do all the math by hand.
Yeah.
Boy, it's hard. And I'd much rather just let the computers do all the math. Not you.
Yeah. I don't want to keep a little scrapbook of paper just so I can sit here and just do math and then like, oh, okay, that's how much it is. Where literally, like, I'm not gonna lie, I use a calculator on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
But I would rather. Is it stretch time?
It's almost stretch time.
Oh, okay.
I
saw you get up and walk away. I was like, oh, I see how it is.
I'm walking away from you. No, I'm getting my sketchbook.
In my own house.
In your own house. I'm walking away from you. No, I'm just getting my
But yeah, no, it's like I use it all the time. I do all that stuff too. But like it's one of those ones. It's kind of. I would love.
I still will from time to time.
Oh.
It's hard to see it until it focuses.
Focus. There it goes.
All of the math and things like this manually if I need to.
I remember you doing that when we all used to draw together.
Yep.
You'd be sitting there like, what are you doing today? You're like, I'm trying to figure out how this actually works scientifically. Yep. I'm like, guy, it's sci-fi. It doesn't have to always work scientifically. You're like, yes, it does. I'm like, okay.
Yes, it does. Heretic.
Fine. You just keep doing your thing. And as soon as you finished it, though, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that's the nature of how we.
It's time to take a quick break.
Now it's time to take a quick break.
There's
so
the break.
You know how this goes. Even though you're younger than me, you still have to stand up and stretch.
I know. I just don't have that much room as you do.
I know. It's all good. I just stretch. I try to grab the fan. Oh man. Today I go for a walk every day with my buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And today I'm going to try to jog a small amount of it.
Nice.
We'll see whether I regret that decision or not. I may
jog.
So,
I mean, jogging a little bit will be good.
Yeah, we're not going to jog the whole thing.
Like what you could do is like every other block.
We make a loop around this local park here, and we were just thinking what we would do is we'd pick some section of the loop and jog that.
Oh, cool.
So we jog
both
a little
of you are
bit,
do it.
and we walk the whole loop, and then we jog that same amount, and then we walk the whole loop.
Oh, cool.
And then we can extend that as time goes on. Today we jog to the trash can. Tomorrow we'll jog to the light post. The next day we'll jog to that tree.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if it needs to be more incremental, for this week we will jog to the trash can, and the next week we'll jog to the light post.
Right.
What I'm hoping for is to get to a point where I can run the whole loop at some point.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I am getting to the painful part of overweight that I'm not happy about.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's not good.
Right. Faces W. Grab those.
Okay. One of the other things.
At least you have someone that's helping you get working out with you, though. That's always nice.
Yeah.
Oh. Extrude.
So
Negative 0.5. Yeah, 0.5 looks good.
I call it posing wheel. No, it's not posing wheel. A parameter. No, don't close. Setting a parameter. Manipulating objects using parameters. That's what I want. Adding custom parameters to posing and shaping tabs. Wow, this is an old version of DAS. No, in the shaping tab, no. I want the parameter tab. So what I'm looking for here is I want a control value over here so that I can move this with a parameter wheel. Because once I set that, then I can set the wheel to go exactly X degrees to exactly X degrees. So when I deploy this, because see right now, one of the problems I've got is it pivots the wrong way, right? It's not pivoting from the front on the top.
Oh, yep.
And since the wing is tilted, you can see that it also tilts in a bizarre fashion, right? So I need to make it relative to the top of the fin, and it needs to be pivoted from the front. And somebody was saying I should just make a null object and stick it in there. And so I'm thinking of putting just a new null in there. And we'll call it the gravity and a pivot. Right? We'll call it that too. Here we go. So here's our gravity antenna pivot. We're going to put it right here in the front of this guy. Front view. And this way, I'll put a null in here, and then I will rotate this null to 30 degrees, which is what the fin is at. And then I'll put the gravity fin antenna on this null, and I'll put this the upper gravity fin. Then this null can rotate, and it's not set right. This null can rotate, and you can see now it does it correctly. There we go. So now the fin moves correctly. And now we need to do another null for the upper gravity fin itself. So we'll create a new null.
Question.
I'll call this upper gravity or upper gravitic sensor.
Go
And
edge.
start calling these things the right thing.
Edge. Jump back into this, and that'll look better.
All right. We'll match that guy to there and then put you here. So now this null, this is what they were saying to do to correct all of the weird problems that are going on with a null.
Oh.
So I need to actually move it out here temporarily until I'm ready.
Yeah, we'll go with it. Fuck it.
You're like, it looks good enough.
Let's move some birds.
All right. And then front view. So when I place these nulls, I'm turning them to their 30-degree angle of the tail.
That's weird. Why would it do that?
And
1,
then
2,
that
3,
way,
4. How many verts are in here?
and now this can go not that way.
What?
There.
That's weird.
Perfect.
Target well tool.
So now this guy extend properly. It doesn't extend properly. I'm gonna tilt that
So
null.
weird. Cool. Yeah, we'll go with it. That's fine.
There we go. So now I've got it going the correct direction.
Nice.
So now we get the parameter settings for this. And we call this extension. Gravity gravitic sensor extension. And now I can lock everybody else so that they won't move. Only move this guy. And let's see. Let's go to there. So its parameter settings will be maximum is 45. Eh? 45. Why can't they change it? Why won't you let me change it now?
Because you locked it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't lock this guy, so I'm still trying to figure that one out. Because I should be able to set its values so that it won't use limits. There we go. That's it. 45 point. Let's just set it.
I can just see that in. Yeah.
And then whoa. Haas.
So if I do
minus 40. Where do you go? Minus 10. There we go.
and I still got to do that. Okay. Let's do that now. Fuck it.
20. So minus 20 is the minimum it needs to be at. It is minus 20. So now, for this wheel, all I have to do is this. And
Your wife's a teacher, right?
do what?
Your wife is a teacher, right?
Yes.
Why was she going to work at like 9?
Because she's the after-school teacher now.
Oh, that makes more sense now. Okay.
So she works effectively 10 to 6.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. I was just sitting here thinking about that. I was like, wait, she's a teacher. Why is she going in at 9? I'm really confused now.
Right?
That makes sense. Okay.
So this now only goes to the top and to the bottom, to the top and to the bottom. And it is completely locked. So now
You guys are Jeffco, aren't you?
yes.
Okay.
Gravity antenna pivot now extends only to there. So its numbers need to be we'll go and set the parameter settings for this guy. And we'll call him extension.
Fix those. They're not end guns.
We'll use limits. And his minimum is minus 55.
Really?
Probably ought to before I have the problem I had before. We'll just call this 10 right now
Just don't like that.
because it really is 2.
And
I'm glad I said that.
No.
Maximum 2. So now it extends, and that's all it does is that. It will not go any further. Bork. Bork.
That rounds it up. Yeah, there we go. That's
Right, we'll lock, 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 and lock. And we've locked everybody but the extension piece. Now that goes. And the upper fin. Wait, why is it doing that? Well, that's interesting. Shunk. Did it do this wrong? No, it did it right. Okay, I'm confused. It didn't do it totally right, but it did mostly right.
it's starting to do what you want it to do.
Yeah, it's like most computer things. I'll fight with it for a couple of days, but I'll never have to fight with it again once we've got this squared away. So, and any scene where it calls now in my comic book for the gravity sensors to be extended, now we've set this up and rigged it so that it will do exactly this. It'll look like that, and you'll look at it and go, oh, the gravity sensors are extended. They're looking for some other thing, or whatever.
Right.
And that's exactly what I'm looking for, is a visual representation of this.
No, go back. I want my verts.
Feel like this null.
What if we do that? I just don't like how many faces are around here. That's just going to get a lot more texture.
We have a dog here in the neighborhood, and the dog hates being left alone.
Yep.
And he spends literally the entire day howling and whining, and it's so exhausting after a while.
I know that feeling. We have a dog across the street that's the same way. Like, they have 2 dogs. One will sit at the door and cry for hours, and the other one just sits in the sun and basks. I'm like, why can't you be like him?
Right?
It's like, I get it. You have the anxiety of being left alone. That's great and all, but come on. Yeah, no, we're just gonna go with this. That's fine. That's all flat surfaces.
Yeah.
It'll be easy to
Not working. All right. No, not that one. Don't touch it. Don't touch that button.
Hi.
All right. I'm just trying to get these guys to stop being out of alignment here. Very fine, finicky control here.
Looks up here. J. Yes. Aha. I am remembering some of these controls.
Nope. We're close. We're close.
We're getting there.
Not quite getting there yet. I can get one side to work, but I can't get the other. Very, very typical.
Touching. Here. Yeah.
The thing is, I built these to be very watertight, and they're not being very watertight.
A little bit.
A little closer. A little closer.
I still think that's the funny part about 3D. It's just like the minute, just like the tiniest little things you just keep messing with until it finally does what you want it to.
There. Oh, almost within an inch here. Almost. I'm just trying to sneeze away from the microphone.
Bless you.
Well, thank you. You could say my new phrase, gahentai.
Good. What?
Right? You gotta admit it's awesome.
That's pretty funny. That
Gahentai.
was good. I was like, what?
Yeah, you weren't ready for that.
I was not. That was good. Nice. All right. Gahenta. Where did you come up with that?
I don't know. I said it a couple of days ago and it was really funny, and so I've just like gone with it.
I like it. Gahenta. That's
I think we're
awesome.
good. I think
That's like my favorite one. Like I had a friend back in the day. She you know how we say like what the fuck?
Uh-huh.
She's like, in Japanese, it's nani the fuck. And I was like, no, that's not true. But I'm like, that's great.
It works.
It does. Nani the fuck?
All right. That works. Now what I need to do is figure out how to get a controller parameter so that all of the parameters are in one spot. And that's going to be a little harder. So, like, how do I get a pointer to this one? And I may actually just go onto the DAS forum and say, hey guys, I built this model. It has a lot of different little wheels that need to be turned to do different things. I could click on each individual part, scroll down 3 pages to find the one wheel and turn it.
Mm-hmm.
But is there some way that I can attach all of these extra parameters from different pieces to the main body so that the main body just has the 12 parameters that need, because I don't need the X translate and the Y translate, and I don't need the X rotate. And is there any way to just link them all together to the main body so that I don't have to deal with it anymore?
Right.
Because right now I can bring the extension down, but then I have to click on the antenna and I have to de-extend the antenna, to drop it down into place. And we haven't even gotten the little door that's on the side over there that needs to open up. So there's like 3 pieces to this that open up and move. So, oh man, pop my neck.
Nice.
I'm wondering whether I should go back in and rebuild the wing, because I'm getting a lot of artifact crap on the export. I'd be annoyed if I had to rebuild the wing. But, I mean, you can see right here, if I put it in wireframe, You can see that it has chosen to do weird crap. Didn't want it to do. Like, where did this point?
Yeah, I'll say, where's that vertex going?
Yeah, we've got like weird stuff. Like this cover right here shouldn't exist. And it's
Yeah.
doing the same thing over here.
Go back to your faces again. Show your faces.
Hang on. Yep.
Ah.
Yeah, we've got a lot of weird.
Yeah, you got some weird geometry going on.
Which it shouldn't have any weird geometry. And so
I mean, if you're in the wireframe view, you can kind of see where the lines are connecting, though.
Yeah, it's connecting to points that shouldn't connect, which is something that this means Blender is doing something and making a decision, because that's not here in this model.
Yeah, for some reason I can't see it. Oh no, they're the.
Yeah, you can see that there's no.
Yeah, there's nothing in those spots.
This.
So there's.
You know what? I know what. We can do. We can take this and fix it with that modifier. What is that modifier? But then it means I might have to still redo my UVs.
Oh wait, you did this all in Blender, right?
Oh yeah.
Open. Are you in Blender? Yeah, you are.
Yep. Let's go to the modeling tab because it's easier to see things in the modeling tab.
Yeah, where is it? There it is. Okay. It might be. See where those. You could technically control, or is that a?
There is a triangle.
So go over 2 faces over to the left.
Well, hang on real quick. It's triangulate is the method here.
Oh, is what you're looking for?
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
I was just more curious very quick. I was just curious where those connect.
Yeah, there we go.
Those verts right there to the left.
Over here?
Yeah. So yeah, that one.
That's the triangle. It's got a problem. And the reason
that's where I was saying it looks like there's a vert, like it's connecting somewhere from the vert to the right to the back.
Stop being weird.
Which might mean you might have 2 verts in there. You might just have to do a merge verts.
No, it's a 4-face versus a 3-face function problem.
Oh, is that what you're having?
So you know how you have everything has to be in a triangle to export properly. In this instance, we've got
is that in
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 verts for one face.
So 4 verts, I mean 4 faces actually it works fine for texturing and that. 3s usually for video game engines.
Yeah, but it also is the export.
True.
So when you export through OBJ files, which is what we're using to transmit back and forth between DAS and this, we're using OBJ. When you do OBJ, it immediately puts everything into triangles. So we have to have it in triangles. And what's happened here is this was a triangular function until I cut with the Boolean. I cut the
you did a Boolean out. Oh, yeah. Sometimes.
And when I cut the elevator out with a Boolean, it was totally fine as long as it was a 5-point vert or a 5-point face.
Yeah,
it was okay with that. But then exporting it, it has clearly decided that this is a triangle here. So it's crossing from this point to this point, which is giving us this webbing right here. But it's doing the same thing on this guy right here. It's connecting from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's where I was thinking you might have had an extra vert in there. That's why it's trying to do something.
Right.
That are overlaying each other. So you might have to just connect verts. But true. I didn't realize you did a Boolean. If you did Booleans sometimes decide to do a lot of weird things.
Yeah, Booleans are always an issue. So there's no way. Why am I
near?
Because I think we need to not be in here. We need to be
beer bottle.
Then we apply.
Beer bottle.
There we go. That should have fixed that. Because now, if you look in edit mode, We don't have that anymore. We have 1, 2, 3. There we go. That's how you fix it. So for those who are watching at home and are wondering what the heck I just did, I applied a modifier to my wing that's called triangulate. And that cuts anything that was 4 faces or 5 faces into exact 3 face or three polygon faces or 3 vertex face. And you can see it's made a whole bunch more faces than this one over here. Now we need to go and see how badly that mangled our UV.
This picture is.
It looks like it didn't do anything to the UV.
So, maybe.
How about that?
Let me see something.
That could have been an
Separate.
unpleasant experience if it had blasted the UV on that one.
I think that's why.
Yeah, okay, good. Then we're going to do the same thing and go back into modeling, and we're going to apply that same modifier over here.
History, freeze transform.
We go into object mode, add modifier, triangulate. There we go.
Center pivot. There we go. There we go.
Look at us being serious and knowing what we're talking about. Like really, we have no idea what we're talking about, but that's okay. We'll pretend. All right. Everything still looks the same to me, so I'm not that worried. Now we'll take, and since it didn't change my map over here, it's not going to matter that my mapping doesn't have all the triangles in it. I see a hole in your mesh.
Hmm?
I saw a hole in your mesh.
In my mesh?
Yep.
Where?
On that shelf, I thought. You may have been behind it. That may be why.
Oh, here?
Yeah. 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 The shelf.
Yeah, I deleted it. So yeah, I'm deleting those faces because
it's game.
they're not going to be seen.
Yep. You're doing
Less things to texture as well. Hi, Kitty.
Yeah, this is George.
But yeah,
George.
so yeah.
Sometimes George is on the show.
No, I've been getting. What the heck was that? Oh, that's just a rendering thing. Okay, that's weird. No, so I've also like 1 for game. 2, I've been doing it more just because it's less texture and it's less information when you're texturing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks so happy.
Yeah, he's like, I get scritches. I love scritches.
But yeah, I'm one of those ones that I start deleting faces after I finish what I'm doing because I'm like, I know this is not going to seem. It's going to be easier to texture, easier to model, things like that later on where I don't have to worry about it. Also,
Sure.
they're easy. They're easy. It's literally just a square.
Yeah.
They're just cubes that's stretched out. I'm like, I can always re-put them back in if I need to. There it is.
It's thinking in the way of gaming.
Yeah.
You know, for me, my models could be shot in any angle. So I want to be more careful as to what I do with it. I mean, because I've got to make sure all of it's watertight, especially if I end up sending it to Brent for him to print, which he's really into. The idea.
Oh, so you got a 3D printer?
Yeah, I've got a 3D printer now too.
I want to.
It's a resin printer.
That you need to do something like that.
He's
Does
totally
Brent have a program where he just throws it in and it converts it for him?
Oh yeah, well yeah, but I mean, I still
because I have a friend that has one too, and they told me like send me over whenever I build something, send it over so they can make it just to see how it works. I'm like, I'm really curious now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I've always wanted to try it. Like look at Kundi right now, for example. All the things he's
Kundi's
making.
doing
I would
some
love to
incredible
like throw
stuff.
one of those in a 3D printer just to see him come out. But also, like, he has so much mesh in his because he's using ZBrush. I don't know if like poly count actually makes like you need to worry about poly count and all that stuff when you're doing 3D modeling and all that other stuff. I'm very really curious about it, but I haven't found anybody to actually really like discuss it with.
Yeah, well, that's one of the big things that both. There we go. See, I fixed it. That's what
Is that what you and Brent are kind of
Brent
working
do
around?
a lot of. Yeah, we do a lot of that, like especially
yeah.
on Geek Tank.
Nice.
So there we go.
Oh, you guys do it on Geek
Yeah,
Tank points?
we'll talk about it on Geek Tank. It's funny.
That's awesome.
But
So Brent's not in Colorado anymore?
no, he went to Kansas to be with his family.
That's fair. I know he was saying he wants to come back, but I couldn't remember
He
what
really
state
does.
he
I
went
think
to.
he misses us.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. You guys were doing a lot of stuff.
For better or for worse, he misses.
Is it still all the same three of you still, or?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
The
You,
wings
Brent,
thing.
and
Yeah. So it's actually Troy, me, and Chelsea. Brent is sort of ancillary. He
was always in the
he
back.
always is on the show, and that's cool.
Right.
And sometimes
Yeah.
I make him
So it's the
a
four of you still.
hostile
Never mind, four, not
hostile
three.
host. I'll grab him and throw him in the show whether he likes it or not. It's very funny. So there we go. That's actually, I didn't even see over here that the missile box, this is where the missiles live.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay. I was like, there's something that goes in there.
But yeah, that box didn't even render the last time. It put a skin over the entire box because it couldn't handle it.
Oh.
So now that I've triangulated and done the triangulation, that box is viable. There's a door that goes over that box. I just haven't finished UV mapping the door yet.
Right.
I'm probably going to put the UV map. Well, no, I should have put the doors on this map because the wings are unique. The engines are not unique, and the tail, that big tail, is going to be used for other things. So I may have made a mistake, but that's okay. It's not a big mistake. And we'll figure it out as time goes on. But the wing looks good. And we've got a tail that works. So that's cool. Although I don't feel like the tail is going all the way down now. Yeah, it needs to go in just a little bit more, I think. Not quite closing like it should. So we'll make this minus 20.5. Ridiculous statement to make, but okay. Yeah, that's tighter. There we go.
Faces.
And since this spacecraft has two tails, we're going to have to make sure it's a tale of two tails. We're going to have to make sure that I have a port and a starboard readout on that, and then I'll just duplicate this tail. And then it should be fine. But then I should be able to extend both of them out and extend their antennas. And then it'll even look cooler because then the ship will have like both of those things sticking out. The other thing is I've been thinking about doing a similar extender on the wings. So like control feathers for a bird.
Oh.
You know, like birds have those fingertip feathers that extend out on the tips of the wings. So I was thinking it'd be kind of cool if I put effectively fingertip feathers that come out the edge of the wings. They usually sit trailed back, but once it enters the atmosphere, those feathers extend out, and then you can control the ship using those, you know, using both the flap controls and the feather controls at the edge. it would make it look different, but it also would help adjust for the fact that my vertical stabilizers are instead of being vertical stabilizers, they're gravity sensors. So they don't actually have rudders. There's no rudder on my spacecraft.
Oh.
So once in the atmosphere, you have sort of a left-right control problem. So my thought is I'll put these fingertip feathers out there on the edges of the wings, and that'll adjust for my lack of rudder.
Right.
That should be cool. And
I
will
didn't
give
do
a
that.
very dramatic effect when the ship is coming in for a landing, because the wings will be extended out, the flaps will be down, the fingertip feathers will be out. It'll look super dramatic. You know, it'll look like a bird coming in for a landing, which is also very dramatic, you know.
Mhm.
When a bird comes in, those wings are all extended out and up, and the claws are forward, and it's, you know, it's going to have that effect. You know, the ship is going to look like that because it has internal gravity. So since the ship has internal gravity, it doesn't matter what angle you're at. you know, the reason we don't land airplanes like this and then put them down is because everybody would be like, "Whoa!" Thump. But when a ship has internal gravity, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever the heck you want.
Whoa. Oh, I know what edge that is. Okay, I know what's going on. All right. Sorry. I was
You're
like, what
good.
is going on with this mesh? All right, we'll just do that. Bring that in more, because that should do what I want it to do. And then since we're here, you know what? Make this easier. There we go. Let's grab all those. There's 5. Where's the 5th one? 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait. Hey, you got the ones on the inside. That's mine. Okay. Let's do this again.
I have lots of commentary on my ship. The sensors. Did you really just say sensors? You're like, yes, that's the way we all say it. Sensors. God. Now I'm just Lower Decks has got some of the best quotes ever. It's a ridiculous show. I love it. I love it so much. All right. Not that one.
Not what I wanted. There we go. Grab that, grab that, grab that, grab that.
That's not working.
That should be the exterior.
Very close.
That one. I want you and you. And bevel. Do this. Is that looking better? That looks a lot better. All right. There we go.
Now
That's
look
what I
at
wanted.
Missouri.
That's what I wanted. An extra segment in there. Yeah, round it out more with an extra segment. Perfect. There we go. Trash can. And let's mess with these verts because I don't like them. But to do that, go invert. I really don't like that. Ugh, it's gross. that. Oops. That. And
Oof.
edges. Delete. We have that. So we'll go verts. Grab you. We'll merge you with that. That should clear that up more.
And a P, and an urge, and a P, and an urge. Purge, purge, purge.
Looks better for me. I like it more.
Hmm.
So what are you doing? So this is for your comic though?
Yep.
Nice.
So I did most of my Tamerlane comics with this method. I 3D modeled the ship, then made it so that the models don't look 3D, they look 2D. And then I would render them in I'd render them out and then just use Zipatone as a brush, and I just paint in shadows and stuff like that in Zipatone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looked like I hand drew the ship, which is one of the things that cracked me up. The other night we were at Geek Tank, and I found out, because I was downloading models for printing, somebody had made my starship that I had done in my comic.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, huh. Because I was
Someone
like,
modeled it?
yeah, somebody modeled my starship from my comic. And it was like, wow. Because I have a very standard ship, but I made a couple of little modifications,
Uh-huh.
Specifically for story purposes. And you could see those modifications on this ship. So somebody actually read my comic and put the modifications in on a standard Star Trek ship.
That's cool.
And they modeled it and everything. And so we were like, huh. And I was reading through the comments on there, and they're like, well, the artist, his ship was different in every page. So I can understand that it's a little difficult to, and I'm like, no, really, it wasn't different in every page. There's a 3D model. It literally couldn't be different in every page. But it was
I was using
funny
the
that
exact
you
same
thought,
model the whole time.
right? It's the same model. I never changed it. Although in the story, the warp engine gets blown up, and then they had to replace it. So, I changed the graphics on the warp engine so that it looked like a different engine. But that was part of the story. I mean, that was part of the plot.
Right.
And it's just really funny that
What is it?
they perceived that, I had been altering and changing. Like I didn't draw it the same way. That was the part that cracked me up. Was the implication was that clearly I was drawing it differently every time, and I was like,
right.
But it's a 3D model.
I don't know how I did it differently every time.
Yeah, there's no way I could have drawn it a different way, but clearly they were convinced that I was hand drawing the ship.
That's funny.
So,
that's actually pretty funny.
Yeah. Which that's totally fine. I don't have any problem with that.
What the?
So, but
What
it was still kind of like I don't. So now I need to figure out what's wrong with this, that it's not going the right direction. I'll go to the left view. And let's go to the right view. Right view.
Okay, that technically that's weird.
And let's take a look at this.
This is why 3D modeling gets weird on occasion. You're just like, I don't know why it's doing that. And I come at it at a different angle, and for some reason it's working. I don't get it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's put this null in the correct spot.
Cool. Fixed all the verts. That looks good. Trash can. Waste receptacle.
There. That's much better. Not perfect, but it's closer.
Delete history, freeze transformation. Everything still should be centered.
Nope, and that one.
And we'll just rotate it for character. Let's bring
that sneeze again.
Let's throw it over here.
Hentai.
Bless you.
There you go.
See, let's do. Woof.
I
Works.
did set the null up correctly, and now you're just being really weird. This is not, in fact, a Y rotation. I would notice. God. I hate this. This is one of those things that this is a glitch in 3D that makes me so aggravated. There comes a point where two of the axes will link.
Oh.
And so you'll rotate X and you'll rotate Z, and it'll go the same direction because they get confused. The program gets confused. Daz does it more than anything, but Poser used to do it too. And when I talked to the Daz people about it, their response is, yeah, all programs do that. All 3D programs will get confused after a while. It's called, it's something like gimbal lock, but it's not. It's
like too much data is going on at the time that it's just not
it's rotation lock or
yeah.
I'm sure that it's,
which I understand that with it being in a 3D space, trying to move all those axes all the time, and then once you do it too many times, the system's like, hold on, processing.
Yeah. I'm just going to not screw up the translate, but I'm going to.
I mean, what you could do is if you get it into the right spot before you moved it, you could always save, close, reopen, so it resets it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to actually just pull the null out so that it's not connected anymore to the door.
Right.
And then I'll fix the null correctly without the door and make that work.
Let's see here. As for a plate, is this big enough? Is it something? Whoa.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see here.
And this is what I mean, guys. The null still thinks that it's twisted out. There we go. That's what I need.
Needs to be thinner.
That's what we want. It should be 30 degrees exact.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll go from the right view. We'll take you and we'll move you out of the way.
All right. Cool.
I'll go in here and fix this null so that it's tilted backwards. There we go. Now, when I put you back on, and you're all crooked now. Come on. There we go. And
Like the funny thing about programs though, like they all pretty much are the same thing for the most part.
Yeah.
It just more depends on what you want them to do because they do all their little tiny different things. Whoa.
it's close.
You're getting there.
It's getting there, but it pivoted weird. It's eating through the back of the tail there. It's doing the same thing it did before, which is it's pivoting straight up and down on the y-axis, even though I have rotated the y-axis minus 10 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the problem. Like, you can see that it's pivoting. It's pivoting correctly 30 degrees this way towards us, but it's not pivoting 10 degrees back. That's part of our problem. Because, of course, the entire wing is tilted. So it's, the tails are twin tails. So they're at 30 degrees canter each direction.
Whoa, that's too many. Yeah.
So okay, well, we have about 5 minutes left.
Perfect, because I was about to say I can't stay longer than 11 usually today.
Now I gotta go see if I can jog.
That's fair. Mine is more, I gotta go get ready for work.
Yeah. I may come back and beat my head across this afternoon and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need my content library right now, so I could just use this as the full screen. Yeah, but I'm not unhappy. This is actually coming across really well.
So you do it there, but you won't do it there. Why?
All these nulls are working. So I've got a wing, and I've got a tail, and a prayer. That's what I got.
And a prayer.
And a prayer. A wing and a tail and a prayer.
2020.
So yesterday, the question was, if I make a UV map and include a number of objects into it, then export each object individually, bring them all into DAZ Studio, and still use one UV map to cover all of those objects, will they hold together? And the answer was yes. So everything on this tail, even though it's 1, 2, 3, 4 different pieces, they're all on one UV map.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now I understand what you're talking about. I was like,
Yep.
You're doing what?
Right? Well, and the same thing over here with the wing and the flap. They're both on one UV map too. And in fact, both wings are on one UV map and both flaps are on one UV map. So once I bring in the starboard side wing and the starboard side flap, those are also on the same UV map, the wing UV map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can easily put multiple objects onto one UV. I don't know how, DAZ is probably the same way though. Your UV map has to be within that like 1 by 1 block.
Yeah.
So as long as you can get everything in there and it reads properly,
yeah,
you'll be able to texture it and send it right back in and it will all properly fold properly.
Yep. The reason for the concern, of course, was that I didn't want to have to UV map an individual UV map for every piece in this in the ship, because the nose is now a separate piece. The front little wings are a separate piece. Each landing gear is a separate piece now. All the doors covering all the landing gear. So when the landing gear is folded up, the doors close and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I mean, that's also like if you look at see here. No. Maps, not lamps. There's a whole bunch of them I was looking at one day.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I could do it because I know that
Yeah, like
I know that
here,
when you
let's see, does this
import, like when you make a human
it's not showing the character.
in Daz Studio, obviously you
Mhm.
do the lower leg and then the upper leg or whatever. You can do it that way. You can also just bring in a human and then put bones inside. But both of
There we
those,
go.
right?
Yeah, like if you look at this, like these are 4 separate maps, but it's also they built them that way because that's what they wanted to texture properly.
Oh yeah.
They wanted them separate for that models, but like you could easily take all these though and throw them onto one. But it really more depends on clarity, what resolution you want it on. Every UV map you make is its own clarity. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
But they're
obviously.
cool to look at, though, if you ever really do, like how people unwrap them and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that was cool.
UV mapping is an art.
I never understood it until literally like a week ago. I was sitting there with my teacher,
cool.
and I'm just like, oh, I don't understand any of this. He's like, oh, it's because of this, this, this. I'm like, oh.
I always felt that the word unwrap was the most useful term.
Yeah.
Because it is effectively taking an object and taking wrapping paper and wrapping it around it, drawing lines on all the wrapping paper, and then unwrapping the wrapping paper and looking at all the lines.
Right.
That's literally what it is. And it works so well to think of that way and mentally think of it that way.
Yeah, because what you're really doing is you're wrapping a thing around a 3D object. So unwrapping it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Where you cut it so you can actually fold it together. But then there's like all the other tools you can go into, like especially when you get into character modeling, it gets a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because you're more organic figures, but like environmental and all that stuff, it's a little bit easier because you're only really looking at flat planes majority of the time.
Right.
But like when you start getting into people and like monsters and that, it gets into a whole new world where you literally are working with a lot more different shapes.
Yeah.
Because I've been looking at it, I'm almost like, I don't know if I'm ready for people.
Right.
But environments and like props and that, oh yeah. That one I can easily do. I can do that one. That one makes sense. But like until my brain finally fully comprehends everything, that I can be like, oh, got it. Here's how this is actually supposed to work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing up my Tamerlan because it's cool.
Scarab. But yeah, when I first ever saw these back in the day, I'm like, I don't understand. How do you draw all this and just like smash it in here? I don't how do you keep track of this? And then after I finally was being taught how this works, I'm like, oh, never mind.
I get it now. Yeah.
I understand everything. I understand how this works finally. Textures. But yeah, that's like the real reason why like I'm glad I went to school specifically was because like I'm learning all these things. I'm like, I never understood it. And then finally having someone fully sit down and show me and explain it, I was like, oh, I understand now. What I've been missing, what I wasn't comprehending in these concepts.
This is not the right texture. How can you tell?
Whoa.
We are confused.
I'm confused.
Yep. That's all right. It's because this belongs to a different version of my ship. I made a version that was called the Starfleet Assembly Doodly Wops or whatever. I don't remember. But whatever it was called, I made a setup where I could do all of my different things I'm looking for. Tamerlan in here. And gosh, I hope I didn't lose it after all these years. That would really suck. It's Federation Construction Set. That's what it was called. Yeah. There we go. Federation Construction Set. I found it. It doesn't look any better. I think it's because somewhere along the line these normals were flipped.
Oh.
Which is why I had to make the Federation Construction Set.
Fair.
Although that doesn't seem right. I'm showing the correct one. It's not you. You don't fit. Yeah, see, you don't fit. So why? What's going on here? I was trying to.
Clear from broadcast.
Yeah, see, I was trying to show this cool thing before we left today because it's 11 o'clock and we got to leave.
Yep.
And I can't really show you, sadly. Looks like this is either an older version or something. Oh, well, that's a bummer. That's too bad. That's too bad. I was going to show you the cool stuff that I used to do back in my old comic with the old Tamerlan, but clearly I can't get that to load properly anymore. So she may be permanently broken. Well, not permanently broken. Just it's going to require me to go back in there and work with her again to get her back up and running.
Yeah.
That was built back in the day when I had Wings 3D, and that was what I was using to make it in. Like, that was brutal. Like, you made the entire thing like it didn't even have Boolean commands. The only thing you could do was delete a face and then make a new like structure and then put new faces in.
You had to build around it. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to build the whole. It was pretty brutal. Nowadays, it's so much easier to just use Blender. And I mean, that's the thing in my head. I'm always like, at least I don't have to struggle with Blender.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's got some pain in the butt stuff. You have to relearn if you use Maya or, you know, and I never understood modifiers until recently. Modifiers always mess with me because modifiers don't make sense because you apply the modifier, then you have to apply the apply.
Mm.
You can't just put the modifier on. Like if I do a Boolean, it doesn't just Boolean. It doesn't cut a hole in the mesh. You have to apply the Boolean. I'm like, I can see what happened. Why do I have to click apply? It did what I wanted it to do. We do have an undo function. So if it didn't do exactly what I wanted, it would still be fine. I could undo it. I don't know why we have to apply the application. You know, that's the thing I've never understood about modifiers. Oh, well.
That's fair.
It confuses me. Okay, well, thank you for joining me, Colton. This was a lot of fun. I like having you with me.
I'm sorry.
We'll do more 3D time sometime.
Few in between lately, but
it's all good. You've got school to do, but you know what? If you've got time and you want to do 3D days with me, I'm all about 3D days.
Right now, it's pretty much because that's so for this class, it's literally 15 weeks on one project.
Mm-hmm.
We're building a whole scene, as you saw that one scene I was working on.
Yeah.
and we're texturing, we're modeling, we're doing and the lighting and everything for that one
Sure.
project. And then pretty much it's supposed to be by the end of it, you have a whole scene you can just send out as a portfolio piece. If
Right.
that's really what you want to do with it. But there's
If
like a
you
lot of
really
people
are
within
an
here
artist.
that
Oh, wait.
are they're not looking for environments. They're looking into different aspects of the field, but you have to learn this at least to understand the next process, which I totally understand it. This is what I want to do. So I'm like, let me finish it. Let me send it out. Hopefully get jobs.
Yep.
So,
Well, and I've got to finish the Kitty Wake. I've got to finish the bridge set. I've got to finish the pilot house set. They've got to. I was looking at my script. I call for the airlock, so the airlock has to be done. I call for a warehouse on this planet, so that's got to be built.
right.
You know, so like I've got a lot of things now. The warehouse is going to be 4 walls and a bunch of containers, so that's going to be
Right.
easy. But like there's also a street scene later on where everybody's out in the street, so I'm going to have to build little buildings along the side of the street and so I've got a lot of prep work to do before I can even get to drawing my comic.
Right.
So that's all right. I mean, so in other words, I've got a couple of weeks worth of work here. So if you want to just join me on my show while I do this,
Yeah,
this
most
buckle down and do
mornings I'm available as long as I don't get overworked at my day job.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
actually wake up on time. Like today I woke up at 7:30 and I was like, oh, this is good. I'm so happy. And then you texted me and I was like, as long as you don't mind 3D modeling, I'll be there. Because that's what I got to work on. I would love
what I
to
gotta
do
do too.
other stuff too, but like right now that's like my main priority.
Right.
That and writing papers. Like what's this week's paper? I think this week's paper is on the industry. Let me see.
Fair. Yeah, so I don't have any problem with you and me modeling together. It gives me somebody to talk to, and we got to work together, and we'll just get our coffee and drink.
Yeah. Oh. Game development resources is what I have to write about this week.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I cannot write and be on the show at the same time.
I hate writing papers.
Yeah. But
I literally like writing papers is not my like I literally like I told this to someone. I was like, this semester I was like, give me something, like, give me a project any day.
Yeah.
Like you give me papers and I just want to stop.
check
you
this
know.
out. I mean, I've already set up like the scenes. This is my comic book, like the first issue, like all the scenes in my first issue. Isn't that cool?
Ooh,
Yeah, where am I?
nice. Sorry, I
Yeah.
was looking at my emails.
It's all good,
That's awesome.
right? So like all the scenes are set up and rigged and everything like that. So
All color coded.
all I got to do is write it. But
Yeah.
that's actually the easy part for me. The hard part's plotting it out, because if I don't plot it out, then I'll just sit there and write, and then I'll have a 52-page long scene where 2
Right.
guys are just talking about milk, and you're like, that's the most boring scene ever. Why did you do that? So, well, they have to talk about the expiration date,
Right.
or whatever. Okay, well, thanks for joining me. You're off to work. I'm off to see if I can jog. So
Yeah. I'm gonna
We'll see how
go
that
get
works.
ready and then hopefully get out of here in like 45 minutes.
Yep. Okay, I'll talk to you. If you want to join me tomorrow, I'll tag the team again tomorrow and see if you want to join me.
Yeah, shoot me tomorrow. Just if I'm awake, I'll come. If I'm
Yeah,
awake early
right.
enough, I will.
Yeah, because we're
so
going
I
to be
can
doing
get
this
some more work
for
done.
a long time.
It,
Cool.
It drives me having someone else here. It does drive me to get like actually focus a little bit more.
That's why I do this. So if
Mhm.
it helps you and it helps me, we're doing good. So excellent. Thanks for joining me today, Paul. Thanks for joining me, Brent, like usual. And I will see you all tomorrow. And remember to keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye. computer.